Good day! The macro skills focus of this video are viewing and listening comprehension. This video is about comparing and contrasting contents of material viewed with outside source of information. At the end of this video, you should be able to compare and contrast the contents of a short talk with outside sources of information in terms of accessibility and effectiveness. Has anyone ever told you to listen up? Do you usually hear this from your teachers? They do so because they know that listening is not a passive activity. People do not listen automatically. It is a skill that should be developed just like reading, writing, and speaking. People often underestimate the knowledge they get from listening, but listening is a vital part of learning. It is through listening that we discover new things, learn new concepts, and strengthen our interpersonal relationships. Since listening is a vital part of our life, it is important that we are able to recall the things we heard after listening to them. As a student, you usually practice your listening skills through your teacher's lectures or short talks. A short talk is an oral presentation that lasts from 5 to 30 minutes. This is often more informal than speeches. In presenting a short talk, the speaker can use visual aids such as slide presentations. People get information from a short talk through listening. It is important to differentiate hearing from listening. Hearing is an accidental and automatic brain response to sound that requires no effort. On the other hand, listening, when done best, is active, focused, concentrated attention for the purpose of understanding. Thus, hearing is just letting the sound pass by your ears, but listening is intentional for the sake of response. To understand the new information heard, we have to activate our schema to understand the information. Schema is the representation of an idea in our brain. It helps us understand how things work. For example, when you hear the word glass, your schema of it could be that it is used for drinking or that it is a material used for windows. Aside from activating one schema, there are various strategies for getting and processing information from a small talk through listening. These strategies are the following. The first is inferencing. This is the act of using clues and relating new information to one's prior knowledge to understand its meaning. This may be done by thinking of the denotation and the connotation of a word. The denotation of a word is its literal or dictionary meaning, while its connotation is the meaning that the word suggests depending on how it is used in the sentence. Second strategy for getting and processing information from a small talk is identifying clues. This may be done by recognizing signposts in the talk. Signposts are words or phrases that signal key aspects of the work or establish the connection between ideas or sentences. Some examples of signposts are in conclusion, next, moreover, and furthermore. Next strategy is prediction. This is the act of anticipating information. This involves thinking about what the speaker is going to say next or what information he or she is going to convey. This involves critical thinking and can help in improving one's listening and thinking skills. However, it is important for listeners not to make conclusions before the speaker finishes the talk. Fourth strategy is contextualization. This involves relating the information heard to a larger body of information or to another part of the talk. This is important because a word may have different meanings depending on the context of the talk. For example, generally the word culture refers to the way of life or traditions of a group of people. In the field of science, however, culture may mean a sample of tissue cells or bacteria. The fifth strategy that you may use is visualization. This involves forming a mental picture of the information being heard. Using this strategy helps listeners process the information as well as help them understand abstract concepts. For example, if a speaker talks about building good study habits, listeners may visualize reading books or doing note-taking. Last strategy is reconstruction. This involves using the words heard to create a new meaning. For example, if a speaker talks about success, a listener may reconstruct the ideas in his mind to form his own view of what success is. It is very important to cross-check information that you get from materials viewed to different sources of information to check its accuracy and truthfulness. You may use the compare and contrast strategy in doing so. First, let's differentiate comparing and contrasting. Comparing came from the Latin word comparare, which means to liken or to compare. while the word contrast came from the word contra, which means against. Therefore, comparing is identifying similarities of text, and contrasting means identifying the differences. These two words commonly go together as they give wider comparison of materials. In comparing and contrasting contents with outside sources of information, it is but necessary to be aware of the different types of sources of information. We have the primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. Primary sources are first-hand documents that provide direct evidence. The source of information is from the direct source. Secondary sources are interpretations and evaluations of primary sources. These are accounts written after the fact with the benefit of hindsight. These are not evidence but rather commentary on a discussion of evidence. Tertiary sources present summaries or condensed versions of materials, usually with references back to the primary and/or secondary sources. Examples of primary sources are diaries, speeches, interviews, and autobiographies. For secondary sources, we have bibliographies, commentaries, reviews, and magazine or journal articles. Lastly, for tertiary sources, we have abstracts, almanacs, encyclopedias, and dictionaries. There are different ways on how to check information. The first way is to check its accessibility. Accessibility is the quality of being able to be reached or used. It is being easily understood or appreciated. To check the accessibility of the material viewed and the information, check on the following parameters. Text accessibility is using reader-friendly text for easy navigation. Image accessibility is using visuals and graphics to add information. Audio accessibility, using listening materials to add information. And video accessibility is using viewing and listening materials to add information. Another way to check on the information gathered is through evaluating its effectiveness. This is the quality of being able to bring about an effect or being able to achieve desired result. In checking this, you may ask the following questions. What is the purpose of the author? Did the text achieve the purpose of the author? What is the impact of the text to the reader? That is it for our video. I hope that you can now compare and contrast the contents of a short talk with outside sources of information in terms of accessibility and effectiveness. Thank you for watching!